Welcome, guys, to another episode of Those Muckrakers. Are we on episode, 13 now?
14.
Episode 14. We're 14 episodes deep. We've been doing this consistently for 14 weeks. We are the Muckrakers, the rakers of muck, publishers of political scandal. We are the shouty radio people and other names. We've also been called cucks, libtards, snowflakes. What are the names we've been hit with?
We still don't have a Trump nickname. That would be the best if you were like Crazy Pete and I was Sleepy-Eyed Pat or something.
Yeah, but I
that
feel
would
like
be the best ever.
Yeah, but I feel like he'd give us some really old racist. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? The new podcast by Tar Baby Pete and I don't know. I don't have a lot of ration. Go ahead.
And Porch Monkey Pat
and Chinaman Pat. You know what? It's sad. It has 0 ratings. And he'd be right. We are sad. We have like 12 dedicated listeners who I love, whoever you are.
You're the best.
I actually haven't been paying attention to who's listening anymore. I just gave up on promoting this thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, whenever you were promoting it, we had at least a couple extra people, so you might have to get back to doing that.
I'll start pushing it again. So we're those Muckrakers. We bring you the news every week. I'm Peter.
And I'm Pat.
And Pat, or as I sometimes call him by his Christian name, Wilda, depending on how angry I am.
Or Pat Tholomew.
I like Pat Tholomew. Pat Tholomew. Mew. So we bring the news. And so there's been a lot that happened this week. Can I open up with Kanye West?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Have at it.
I just want to get it out of the way. So Kanye West, I believe, looked around and went, man, no one's paying attention to me. So he goes on TMZ, like the sleazy news site. He goes to their headquarters, so they're filming him, and he's just like, man, what can I do to get attention? He goes, I know. I'm a black man that struggled. I can say that slavery was a choice. So then he goes on, and he's like, 400 years? Really? As many of them as there was? That sounds like a choice to me. And then everybody flipped out and paid him attention. And it's like, I don't care because he's a moron that he's doing this to sell records. But what does bother me, and I believe the Daily Show brought up, is he will now be used by the Tiki Torch people to justify their white supremacy. And that's what bothers me.
It sounds a lot like Uncle Ruckus to me whenever he's talking about slavery. You know, saying, oh, those white people did you such a favor, and all you had to do was a little work, but you refused to even do that much.
Oh, Kanye Ruckus.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's what Malcolm X was talking about, is that, if anything, Kanye's an Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
100%. He's better than everybody else. Because he started taking pictures with Trump and all this stuff, and he's a big Trump fan now.
I misheard you at first and thought you said Malcolm X was Uncle Tom, and I'm like, wait, did he just? Oh no, he said Kanye.
No, Kanye. No. I wouldn't.
But Malcolm X is like the bizarro Uncle Tom.
Yeah,
dead opposite.
I've been teaching my students. We've been doing civil rights. We were talking about Dr. King and Malcolm X, and I'm really, really, really trying to get them all to start calling people the white devil. I told one of my kids.
Phrase.
I told one of my kids because I gave him Malcolm X's biography earlier on in the year because I was like, you need to read this, you'll really like it. And I told him today, I go, you know what? I was down next to him. I go, you really disappoint me. I gave you that biography 5 months ago. You haven't once called me a white devil. And 2, I know you've seen Black Panther, and you have not once called me colonizer, and I'm super disappointed in you. And he's like, you'd get me thrown out for that. And I'm like, for what? Calling me the white devil? No.
You wouldn't. His other teachers might.
They might, but I couldn't. There's no way I could write a kid up if he's like, hey, white
devil.
Hey, white devil. I mean, he told me one time, he goes, you're teaching the white man's history. And I'm like, I'm trying not to. I mean, there's a lot of the white man's history in the...
Malcolm X was one of many things that helped me get off smoking, too. Because, in that book, he described how he would help his fellow people get off of... Or, when I say fellow people, I mean the people that worked with him closely. A lot of them were smokers, and he helped them get off smoking by putting them in a room and telling them, you can't come out of there till you're off it. That's the white devil's hold on you. That's the white man's hold. He wants you smoking that because that's how he keeps you enslaved. And I remembered that because those same white people do not have my best best interest at heart either, because
Yeah.
from my point of view, those are just the rich people who want control over the masses. And one way that they could keep you down is by keeping you addicted to something that's so expensive it strangles all the funds from you, all the spare funds from your account.
And it strangles your health. That's the other thing.
Yep. It keeps you to where you don't have the energy to be active with anything.
Yeah, exactly. And you getting off smoking helped me get off smoking, which is great. And down the line as we affect other people's lives. But yeah, so Kanye West said that slavery was a choice, and people are making fun of him, and people are attacking him, which is exactly what he wants. I think the best thing to do for Kanye is to just nothing him. You know, simply stop following him on Twitter, stop buying his albums, just nothing him.
If you stop feeding him, he'll go away.
Yeah. But it's bothersome because we're in a weird, there's always like revisionism going on in history where we're changing our viewpoints back and forth. And there's a big push right now to for people to try to undermine history and minimize what actually happened and minimize the suffering of history. And it's like the people, or even in science, there's a very strong political agenda in history to push a specific viewpoint, and that viewpoint is more often than not white Christian revisionist history. Mm-hmm. And they'll name call and they'll go, oh no, you're just trying to change it around to be more inclusive and that and the other. And I'm like,
That's just the LGBT agenda.
Yeah.
That's just the the whatever agenda.
Yeah, they love using agenda.
Identity politics. You're just doing identity politics. We want to get the identity out by not talking about race at all. So then we'll just keep doing the white man's history.
Yeah, but you can't talk about history and not talk about especially in America, you can't talk about history and not talk about race.
Right.
Like that.
Well, they're trying to pretend like you can, and that's why they say that's what they mean whenever they say you're race baiting or whatever. You're trying to bring up facts from the past.
So we're gonna
or the present.
You're just trying to teach history by bringing up facts from the past. Yes, I am. I am the me, the white devil that I am bringing up things from the past. Anyway, so I wanted to get Kanye out of the way first. A real dumb statement, and it's especially harmful because he does have political influence in the music world, and this is going to hurt people. And honestly, I think that he's just doing it to sell albums.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same reason why he said that he supported Trump, is because that keeps his name in the headlines. I doubt he supports Trump, but he's doing this because
I don't think he votes. I mean, the neighborhood he lives in is an all-white neighborhood in an all-white part of California. He doesn't have any connection with his roots. He's all about the money.
I mean, more than who someone votes for or claims they vote for is who are they actively supporting in everything that they do. Because I've seen way too many people online try to pretend like they're what they call woke independents, which means they'll tell you that they voted for Obama and they did not vote for Trump. However, anytime you mention anything negative about Trump, they very quickly jump in with, oh, no, Hillary, and then they'll try to deflect or divert or say that Trump's perfect.
Are we woke independents?
No, God, no. I'm not going to use that phrase because it usually means a Trump supporter that likes to pretend like they're not a Trump supporter.
No. I mean in the true sense of the word. I don't mean are we white supremacists. I know that we're not white supremacists. I mean, what do you think our level of wokeness is on a scale of 1 to 10?
A scale of 1 to woke?
1 to woke. Woke means you see the code of the Matrix. 1 means you're just you know what? I believe our government has our best interest in mind, and gosh darn it, we should support the hardworking men and women of Congress.
Are we going to be graded on a curve, based on how other white people are doing?
No, because I'm not giving white people a curve. You can't give Nazis a curve. That would be if you're well, the Nazis, but what about Genghis Khan? You don't get a curve for human suffering. Suffering is suffering.
Okay, I get that the Nazis killed a lot of people, but did you see this other guy? Whew, that's way worse. So let's just go ahead and not talk about the Nazis anymore. That's what whataboutism is, basically, by the way.
I'm surprised
they try to say, well, Bill Clinton killed 50 people, so, God damn it.
I'm surprised that when we bring up the Holocaust, people are like, what about Genghis Khan? Huh? He killed people too. It's bad. Anyway, what are we on a scale of 1 to woke,
I will say I'll give us a generous 7.5.
You think we're
Just
7 point?
because, yeah, way too much. We have way too much white privilege to actually be able to see things the way they are, but we want to.
Yeah, and I
So that's why I'm
still.
giving us a passing grade.
Yeah, and I still struggle with identity politics. Not that like I'm mad and against them. Like, oh, why come? He can't use the bat. Like, I don't. I'm not like angry about identity politics. My brain is just slow, and I'm like, do you? And I still call people ma'am and sir. Like, not because like I'm like you either listen, where I come from, you got a penis or a vagina, and that's the way it is, man. It's not that. It's just that like I get confused and I have like inbuilt speech patterns that were built in because my dad would beat the crap out of me if I didn't say sir or ma'am. So like I'm still used to using gender specific pronouns, and it's hard for me not to.
I'll say the reason I like or I do not like non-gender specific pronouns is because it's always plural, so it's like the royal we, but for
I
everyone, they, them, their, or whatever. But it's like it's one person. It's not them. It's that guy
Yeah,
or that
part of,
gal.
well, my problem with that is part of, I don't know, this is
and,
why.
and again, that's one
Yeah.
of the things I struggle with.
This is
is
where I
what I'm
downgrade
saying.
my own wokeness. I feel like calling somebody it or they or non-gender specific is.
I didn't say it. Like
Yeah.
that's crossing the line to being disrespectful.
I
I'm
was gonna
trying to keep it
yeah, I was gonna say,
respectful,
well,
but
that sounds
non-specific.
dehumanizing to me.
Right. Well, that's why I'm using them or they or whatever, because
Yeah.
that's not. But I see what you're saying. That sounds like you are calling. To you, it feels like you're saying it
Yeah, and
whenever you say them
and
or they.
you are a human person, whether you identify as a man or a woman or like a third or fourth gender. You are a human being, and like I suppose the way I navigate this is if you tell me what you want to be addressed as, I will respect you and call you that.
Right. But it's still awkward to, like, whenever you're meeting someone for the first time, say, hey, so what's your pronouns?
Yeah.
Which I guess ideally we should be able to do that, but there's a lot of people that would get,
Yeah.
either they don't know anything about this and they would just be confused, or they would be actively offended by it if they
that's-
had heard about it, but they don't know what they're talking
Well,
about.
that's why
so they're all
my-
like, "Hurda-burda-burda."
That's why my default is to just go with what I think the norm is, and then if they correct me and I offend them, I'll be like,
just apologize and
yeah,
move on.
I'll be like,
It's
I'm sorry, I'm still working through this. So yeah, I downgrade my wokeness for that. I also downgrade my wokeness because years ago, and not too many years ago, but enough that I was in my late 20s, I didn't know that the term Chinaman was a racial slur.
I still didn't know that. Chinaman's a racial slur?
Yeah, it doesn't mean a man from China. It's like a racial slur. It's like you can't use it like they are.
You did use it earlier whenever you said Chinaman Pat. So I guess that was
Yeah, so I
in
know it.
reference
Yeah,
to that.
so I know it now. But yeah, my point is like that I learned at like 26. I'm like, you what? You mean that's not a man from China? They go, no, it's not a China man. It's a Chinaman, and I was like, oh god, I've been.
We also have a friend. I won't call any names, but he sometimes says stuff that's like super racially offensive, and he doesn't realize that it is. Like whenever he's talking to another friend, saying, "Oh yeah, and that's when I met this nice Jap guy over there the other day," and I'm like, maybe you shouldn't tell your new friend that.
Yeah, I think maybe you should just say we met this Asian gentleman.
Right. Well, I mean, just say. Never mind that he may or may not have been Japanese, but Jap is a
Yeah.
racial slur for someone from Japan.
Yeah, but yeah, so I downgrade my. Maybe I'll downgrade my wokeness to a 6. I feel like my wokeness is slightly above the average, like the national average.
I have one other offensive thing to say.
What is it?
I'm offended by people who or the term for people who identify as the gender they were born with being cisgendered. Now, I don't mind having a term for it, but can it not be like stationary gendered? Because trans makes me think of transit or in motion or going somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
The opposite should be stationary, right?
Well, what's
Unless
weird
we're
is
not trying to identify as opposites.
well, what's
I don't
weird
know
is
how
the
that
term
works, but-
cisgender sounds oddly offensive to me. Like just the sound of the word.
Right, the word cis is what I have the problem with, right? Because it sounds like you're saying cyst, like an ugly growth or a malformation. It's like, I don't really want to think of that every time.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
say,
not. It doesn't really
part of
roll off the tongue. I feel like transgendered sounds so much more beautiful.
Right, so I could go with stationary gender, or we can all just like come up with a better term for it. Or...
I think we should just do it by the numbers. You know what I mean? Like just like, it'd be like, are you a number 1? Are you a number 2? Or are you like a 1.5? Like, right?
Number one and number two, since we're talking about genders here,
Oh,
that
yeah.
automatically makes me think of using the bathroom. So are you piss or are you shit?
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, also someone be like, my gender's number one. It means it's the best. No, that's not. That's not what it means.
Oh, you're right. So we'd have to do like number one or A.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no good system for it.
I
Anyway,
didn't even think about number one. Who America?
I wouldn't call us the
I'm
wokest.
America gender.
I wouldn't call us the wokest podcast, but I do feel like we're trying for two middle-aged white guys. We're trying real hard.
Yeah, I mean, my laughter is just at how insufficient our own knowledge is at this. It's like, oh shit, we have so much further to go, so much more to learn.
Yeah, one of the students I teach the other day told me that he's like, "Yay, you're from Georgia, right? Were you part of the KKK?" And another student goes, "No, stupid. He wouldn't be a teacher in New York if he was." And then another student chimes in and goes, "Maybe he got kicked out, and so they sent him up here." And I was
your punishment for not being racist enough was that you had to go teach in New York.
Yeah, you have to go teach like a school with a small number of white kids. I was like, oh my God. I said, do I seem like a white supremacist? And then in another class, a student goes, hey, did you ever have any black friends? And I'm like, yeah. And they just went like, yeah, Oreos. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, I bet they were white on the inside, black on the outside. I'm like, what is happening today?
I don't know.
You teach civil rights and suddenly you become a white supremacist.
Well, you said you wanted to be called White Devil. Now they're treating you like one instead.
I'm reaping what I sowed. I'm getting what I deserve.
I don't get it. I passed out the Malcolm X book, and now suddenly everyone hates me. I don't understand. What happened
What
here?
is that? Look, I just handed him the Malcolm X book and said, you guys no, they're all dressed in identical black suits and call me the White Devil. I don't know what's happening. Sometimes they stand in the hall in a nice, neat, respectful line and stare at me. What's happening? They're organizing.
Yep.
They have union representation now. That's what I loved about Malcolm X's biography, and that's what I loved about the what do you call it? The Nation of Islam, and what it did before before Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad went crazy was I love that it was like an organization that scared the shit out of like the white patriarchy because it's all these black people and like all of a sudden,
Whitey.
Well, they're wearing suits and they're like, they're wearing nice suits and like they're just real respectful and like they're quitting smoking and like they're all reading the Quran and like it scared the shit out of white people and it was awesome. There's that scene in the I believe it happened in his biography too in the movie where like the cops beat one of the members of the Nation of Islam and like he's in the jail and like he's beaten really badly and they won't take him to the hospital. So like Malcolm X shows up and then calls the Nation of Islam and so like the cops look out the window and there's like 200 Nation of Islam guys just silently standing outside and they're like, oh, we better send this guy to the hospital.
Yep.
I love that. Like that was the scariest thing in like the 1960s and 70s America was like when black people organized. It terrified them.
They're still scared of it to this day.
Oh yeah. Calling
it's Trump.
Yeah, Kaepernick.
Speaking of,
let's get on the Trump train. Yeah.
There are pages and pages of
beep,
notes
beep.
here. Let me start with where I wanted to start with.
All right, hit me.
Or what I wanted my first thing to be. So remember how last week we were discussing how the current administration resembles a Batman's rogue gallery?
Yeah, rogues gallery. Yeah, when it's like, and now head of the EPA, the Riddler, and head of Homeland Security, the I don't know. I don't know his rogues gallery. I'm tired today.
So I jokingly suggested that Mr. Freeze was a villain in this story.
Yeah, I remember that.
And right after that, I discovered that one Mr. Foster Freeze, spelled F-R-I-E-S-S, has entered the race for Wyoming's governor.
Why does that name sound familiar, or is that just a coincidence?
I texted you about it back when I discovered it.
Oh.
But yeah, and also Mr. Freeze is a villain in Batman.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Making sure we're all on the same
Was that
page.
where you wanted to start? You were like, ha, I said Mr. Freeze, and now look, I'm Mr. Freeze.
Yes, yes. So he's a GOP mega donor who's a big supporter of Rick Santorum. If you don't know
Oh,
who Santorum is,
oh
Google his
God.
name.
Oh, I dislike that dude with just a passion.
Yep.
He's the
Now
kind of
Mr. Freeze. Oh, go ahead about Rick
Rick
Santorum.
Santorum is the kind of guy I want to bully.
Mr. Freeze.
Like I
Mr.
want to just
Freeze
go up to
believes
Rick
that
San. Go ahead.
Mr. Freeze believes that contraceptives are too expensive to be provided to people, so he not only believes in abstinence only, but he says that women can use aspirin as a contraceptive.
Oh, was he the one that's like, just hold it between your legs, ladies?
Yep, get it? Ah ha ha
Yeah,
ha
keep your
ha,
legs
fucker.
closed. Also, you can go cut your dick off and shove it up your own ass, and that will also help all of us.
And
Sorry.
also, he believes that the wealthy should have to pay 0% in taxes because they should have control over where their money goes to support.
Well,
To
why
which I
can't?
say, motherfucker, we should all get to do that.
Yeah, all right, fine. Let's do it for everybody. I'm done paying taxes. How about I pay taxes into so I'm going to put my money into welfare. You put your money into, like, I don't know, paying prostitutes to hold aspirin between their legs while you, like, try not to jerk off, you weirdo. Fine, put your money into that. We'll see where the nation goes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want my money to go into Ben Carson's $100,000 desk.
It was my wife.
So,
It was my wife that bought the desk. She
and it's
used
still our
the
tax
wrong,
money that paid for it.
She used the wrong credit card, and I am very sorry. But I will not I will not give that money back.
Oh, and Mr. Freeze has also said that Obama was born in a Zoowanatu because, of course, he's racist too.
Oh
So,
wait,
there
so
we
he's
go.
not even mispronouncing it. He's just like just being racist, just straight up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He called it Zoowanatu in Africa.
Fucking asshole. Yeah, man. Like these people got to go. Like it's just
Yep.
it's getting ridiculous. This dude just opened the door to like he's like one of those Stephen King stories that are like, and then the door opened to a dimension full of unimaginable horrors. Watch as they pull through. A man that thinks contraception should be illegal. A man that thinks that this man shouldn't be president because he's black. Witness this. A woman who thinks that all other women should be owned by a man. Like you're just like, this is all the worst things.
Speaking of these people having to go, well, apparently the tide of law is starting to push back against that because one judge has said that Manafort's case may not be able to go forward because he believes that Mueller is trying to impeach the president using the results of this case, which is fucking stupid.
So I sent, was this the article I sent you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you this article. That's why I said stuff to make your blood boil. This judge, instead of doing his job as a judge and judging the facts, keeps throwing in like extemporaneous stuff like, oh yeah, well, I bet you're doing this just to hurt Trump, aren't you? Okay, well, either way.
We're going where the facts lead us, and if the facts lead us to he should be impeached because he's a fucking monster, then yeah.
Does it matter if does it matter if the prosecution has it in for you or not, as long as they're doing their job?
Hold on, let me just read the text I sent you. That's like saying, sorry, ma'am, your husband's murderer has to go free because the prosecutor in that case actually wants the murderer's guilty plea to help him arrest the governor who paid the guy to murder your husband.
Yeah.
So,
Well, give us
the whole thing has to be thrown out.
So give us the background on this case for people who didn't read this CNN article.
The Manafort case?
Yeah. Well, not the Manafort case. The specific thing that we're talking about, in case people that we're talking to have not read this article.
I mean, I've barely read the article. I just know that the judge is trying to say that we don't want anyone in this country to have unfettered power.
Right.
So he doesn't want Mueller to just be able to go around indicting people. When, honestly, doing this would then allow Trump to have unfettered power because we can never get him on any of the bullshit.
Yeah, so it's a judge that's like hearing some of the stuff about Manafort and is trying to argue that this is just a stunt to hurt Trump. But he's not saying anything about the validity of the stuff against Manafort. He just thinks that like Mueller has it out for Trump. But like that doesn't have anything to do right now. This case is about Manafort and if he broke the law.
Right.
So that's that whole thing that like
Mueller is a guy who will follow the facts wherever they lead him.
Right. And that's
it.
That's what bothers me about this whole thing is like if
it's a fishing expedition.
If your president is exonerated, okay then. You know what? I can live with that. he skirted the law, but whatever. He got off. Fine. Justice was served. But if the evidence leads back to like he broke laws, he's doing things that are illegal, then we have to follow that. It's the same with Hillary Clinton. I don't have any love for Hillary Clinton, but none of the investigations, and there were plenty and they were thorough, turned up any evidence of criminal misconduct or wrongdoing.
And they investigated her over and over and over again, just to keep that in the headlines, just so it looked like she's a criminal. So, but it's just the same thing.
Therefore, so what? Finding her innocent. They bring up Bill Clinton. Well, guess what? Bill Clinton was impeached during his presidency. Justice was served. You know what I mean? Hillary was thoroughly investigated by like Republicans that hated her. Justice was served. But the point is...
By the way, Trump isn't even being investigated by Democrats, so he is getting way more fair treatment than Hillary ever got.
That's what the guy goes. I was arguing with the guy about it, and he's like, "This is just an attempt by the DNC," and I went, "No." I said, "This isn't. The DNC is not investigating. They are not investigating any of this. This is the Justice Department."
Yep.
Like, this is
the Republican Justice Department, by the way. Appointed by Republicans who are appointed by the current president.
And this is what bothers me about this bias. They say, if it would be like if a cop arrested me for committing a crime. I'm like, you're just biased. You just don't like me. Well, does that matter if I committed a crime, whether the cop liked me or not, as long as he did his job by the letter of the law? That's my point.
Speaking of him appointing people that are... investigating him, Rosenstein is actually being threatened.
Oh yeah, and I love that Rosenstein basically called them cowards. Somebody pulled up or started the rumor that somebody has floated articles of impeachment for Rosenstein, but they didn't sign their name to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rosenstein,
they're leaking to the press his articles of impeachment just to try and extort the fucking deputy attorney general. And he came forward to say, if he believes being asked to do...
Yeah, he basically said the Justice Department is not going to be extorted. He said, no one who floated these articles of impeachment had their courage to put the name on it, which is kind of funny. But yeah.
Here we go. So this is someone who wants to impeach him, Mr. Meadows, the chairman of the Conservative Freedom Caucus. I was accidentally reading his quote.
God, I hate the Freedom Caucus so much. I wish they would be free to leave the United States.
They were born of Obama. It's just like a bunch of angry white people that are all like, "Ooh, the black guy got into the White House," and so they made their Freedom Caucus. But so Mr. Meadows, the Grand Wizard of the Freedom Caucus, is saying,
"Thank you for that. I do look." Man, I don't say it enough, but I do appreciate you, and I appreciate so much calling him the Grand Wizard of the Freedom Caucus, and I kind of want it to stick.
If Muckrakers can do anything, it would be making that his Mr. Meadows' official title.
Yeah.
So this is Meadows' quote. "If he believes being asked to do his job is extortion, then Rod Rosenstein should step aside and allow us to find a new deputy attorney general, preferably one who's interested in transparency."
I think
that came out after he called it extortion for them wanting to impeach him.
Well, the point is, it's transparent. But here's what these people don't seem to understand: that the guy that you like is being investigated, and they're like, "No, they've been proved." And I go, right, because the investigation has to investigate, gather the facts, create an airtight case, then present it. That's when you start seeing the convictions and things go to court, right? But by trying to say this has been found, investigation's done progress.
What they're arguing is, he hasn't been found guilty in a court of law yet, ergo we shouldn't have a trial.
Right. So they said the same. Yeah, he hasn't been found guilty yet, so we shouldn't try him to see if he's guilty. It's because this is one-upsmanship. This is all about. And we said it before. My guy won, and I don't want, because I like my guy and I identify with my guy. I don't want to see anything bad said or happen to him, and that's
why we go back to the whole woke independent thing earlier. It's like, if we were truly independent, then let's say Hillary won and she was found guilty of something. We wouldn't defend her. We'd be like, oh, shit, yeah, fucking get her out of there then. Yeah, we'll let Tim Kaine be president.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you commit a crime as a politician, I absolutely believe that you should be held accountable for it. That's why we talked last week about what's his name from Minnesota and the sexual scandal with him, and it was just like, I liked him as a politician. I thought he was a very good. I felt like he was kind of a philosopher politician. What's his name? He wrote for Saturday Night Live forever. He was Stuart Smalley. You know what I'm talking about?
Nah, I don't.
He was the guy that the picture was taken when he was on a comedy tour of him like touching the sleeping woman's boobs and like she didn't know it and all that.
Oh! I know who you're talking about. Fuck, what was his name?
Yeah. I felt like he was
Dude,
he was a very strong Democratic politician, and he weighed out decisions and things, and he was very good for his people. But the thing is, as much as I hate it, when you are at that level of power and so many people's lives and like well-being depend on your basically like on your record and like you have to be morally, I think, above, like your moral fiber has to be a notch above the common man, right? And if it's not and you haven't lived a life like that, then like you maybe don't get to do that job, you know?
Yar.
As they say,
Okay,
go ahead.
I googled Democratic politician touching boobs, and a picture of his face came up, but that doesn't help me because it doesn't give me his name.
He was from Minnesota. He wrote for SNL. Oh my God! All you have to do is type in Democrat
Al Franken.
Yeah, Al
That's his
Franken.
name.
Yeah. God, we're so old.
Yeah,
We can't remember stuff.
We brought that up
Yeah.
last week, I think, and we were saying that that's a good litmus test. It's like, well, did you want him to be thrown out or not? Yeah, like he
had to go.
He went beyond the pale, so that's that.
And to me that hurts me greatly because I thought that he was good for the cause, but at the same time
he was good for the cause, but we have to maintain our moral high ground, and we have to make sure that smart people continue to realize that we are in the right.
And not just that, but like you can't abuse women and like be at that level, and like that's like, you know. In other news, to talk about political people, have you heard about the new guy running for governor of Georgia?
Possibly.
That's great. So he ran a bunch of people are kind of pissed off. He ran a commercial where he's pointing a gun at a teenager.
Yes, I saw that video.
Oh yeah, and he's just like, couple rules for dating
my daughter,
and me running for governor. And then he loads the gun, still pointing at the kid. The kid's like, yes sir. And I'm like, you are a fucking psychopath.
It's technically not pointed directly at him. It's sort of in front of him, but it's, a shotgun's a scatter shot, so it would nick him if he fired it.
But that whole dumb, just like, hey son, why don't you come on in? I hear you're dating my daughter. I'm just cleaning my gun. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I get it. It was kind of a funny joke from the 50s, but like, you're a psycho. Like, there was a really great
a lot of kids his age have been getting shot lately, so maybe that's in bad taste.
Yeah, it's also in bad taste. Kind of like you've heard about how the NRA is having their big circle jerk in Dallas, right?
No.
Yeah, so they're having the big circle jerk in Dallas. Of course, the president went to speak there because it's like he'll get tons of support, right? Because gun nuts love him. But I thought it was weird that the NRA is so insensitive to hold their big meeting in Dallas, and the president shows up in a place where a president was historically assassinated with a guy with a gun.
Yep.
Like, no one else saw that? I'm like, if I was the president, they were like, hey, we're having a gun convention in Dallas. You want to come? I'd be like, yeah, fuck no, because that's where the other president got shot, and I'm not going down like that.
Yeah, that's also where we had a police mass shooting 3 years ago now.
Yeah, we're all like, woo, guns, woo, and like, oh, God.
So just speaking of our president being a criminal, I just want to run through very quickly why we believe he's a criminal.
All right, yeah, lay out the case, and I'm going to probably whataboutism you all the way through.
Oh, yeah, well, in 2003, Hillary admitted to accepting money from foreign donors.
Says who?
Anyway. Says who?
All right, yeah. Lay out the case about why we think the president is guilty.
So the one I'll go through more quickly is at first is whenever he fired James Comey for the Russia investigation, for refusing to say that he wasn't the subject of investigation and making that publicly known that he wasn't being investigated. Trump demanded loyalty from Comey and said, you also got to tell everyone that I'm not being investigated in the Russia scandal. And whenever Comey wouldn't do that, he fired him. Now, you could say, says who? Right? Like, says who? Who says that he fired him? The president did on national television. He went on national TV and was being interviewed by someone. And he said, yeah, I fired him because of the Russia thing.
Yeah.
He admitted to it. So
right.
there it is. That's obstruction of fucking
So
justice.
yeah, so
that
that's
is an impeachable offense by itself.
So a lot of the things that he's in trouble for, he could have scooted by had he not talked about them. For instance, the payment to Stormy Daniels has gotten him in trouble for breaking campaign fund rules because it was unreported. And if I understand correctly, it doesn't matter where the money came from. It's that if the intent of the money was to sway an election,
Public
as in
opinion.
to sway public opinion in an election. Then that money has to be reported, and it was over the amount for campaign finance, right? So he would be
right.
So right there are two crimes, and neither one of them probably it would have been real hard to make him stick had he not admitted to them.
Right. So originally in an interview in a plane, he said, "I don't know anything about it," and that's probably the marching orders from his lawyers, right? Just deny, deny, deny.
Yeah.
Well, Cohen has been raided, and a lot of shit's gone down since then, and Cohen continues to say that he didn't pay Stormy Daniels, but his new lawyer, what's his name?
Rudy Giuliani. Oh yeah,
the guy that screamed America at the RNC. Wonderful, wonderful speech. You should look it up. Anyone listening, go Google Rudy Giuliani RNC speech. It is amazing.
And if you want to see,
if you want to see look up a highlight reel.
If you want to see an even better version, look up the Super Deluxe Vic Berger version. It's some of my favorites.
Right, so Rudy admitted that it was, admitted that Trump paid Cohen back because eventually Cohen did say that he paid her off, but he said he did it from his own money without the president knowing about it because the president's a friend and he wanted to take care of this, even though it's all lies.
Yeah.
He just wants to take care of this. Then Rudy Giuliani says, no, that was the president reimbursing him for doing that, so he did know about it.
Right.
But then realizing, oh shit, that's actually making it a campaign finance violation, he quickly walks it back and says, oh, well, that was just because he was on retainer, so he already had the money through the retainer to pay them off, so it wasn't a campaign finance violation, except then Rudy Giuliani said, well, but could you imagine what would have happened if it was an October surprise and it came out then, so we had to make sure that she didn't talk about it then.
Right.
Uh-oh, that makes it a finance violation again.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
So those are just
and also, at this point, Trump has also gone on to Twitter to admit that, yeah, I did this, all this is true.
Right.
So he's not even denying it anymore.
So those are the crimes he's committed to. Now, we don't know how deep the investigation... there's more?
Oh, yeah. This is the big one. The whole Trump Jr. and Russia talking in Trump Tower.
Okay, so there was a meeting in Trump Tower between known Russian operatives representing the government and Trump Jr., right? Now, the argument for a long time was if Trump was actually informed of the meeting or not, because he had plausible deniability, right?
Right. So Trump Jr. was going to meet with Natalia Veselnitskaya, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she is an operative for Putin. She is a government spy from Russia. That came out just this week, that she is 100% a government spy.
Because they were trying to argue that she was just a Russian lawyer.
Right, they tried to argue that she's a Russian lawyer just taking orders from Putin, which is the definition of being a spy for the government. But anyway, so this is what Trump Jr. did, was definitely conspiracy against the United States, because she said, hey, I have a lot of dirt on Hillary. Do you want it? Will it help you in your campaign? He's like, yes, that sounds wonderful. I would love this dirt on Hillary. Can we meet somewhere for you to give it to me? Russian lawyer Natalia. And she's like, yeah, sure. And let's meet in Trump Tower. And so the story changed. Trump Jr.'s story about what happened changed like 7 or 8 times, as you would expect an innocent person's story to do.
Right, as they do.
Right. And so they met there, and his first story was like, we were just talking about adoption, but of course then it came out that the reason why it went from adoption to they were talking about dirt on Hillary is Trump Jr. released all of the email exchanges between himself
so that
and
was
her.
when the New York Times had some of the emails and we're going to release them. And it was kind of a cool fake out what they did, and this is how they found out which emails are missing. So they were just like, yeah, we're going to release the emails. So then he releases a bunch of emails, so then they can look at the ones he released and then look at the ones that were omitted and go, now we know which ones are important.
Yeah, that is, not only is that amazing, but also the reason he did it is because he is stupid enough to believe his father when his father says that the media twists his words. And in their minds, what the media does is they take stuff out of context and edit and just rearrange stuff and splice it all together to make him sound bad. In reality, they're not doing that. They're just putting down exactly what he says in context.
Yeah, they
and
don't
just
need
letting
to.
people see it.
If you twisted anything he said, it would make more sense and probably sound less incriminating.
Yeah. So Trump Jr., believing that they might take the articles or the emails out of context, just release them all, which then is a public admission that all this happened, and here's all the evidence. And also, it says in the head or in the subjects of the emails, dirt on Hillary Clinton. Want to collude? So,
yeah.
So we have all that now, and it came out this week that she is 100% a government spy. So, did Trump know about this before it happened? Which would put Trump directly colluding with Russia.
So at the time, before you reveal this, at the time of Fire and Fury, there was a great part in there by Steve Bannon where he finds out this happened and goes, What are you doing? He's like, you don't meet with the Russians directly in your own home. You send your lawyer to meet their lawyer at like a Holiday Inn in Connecticut. You bunch of amateurs.
Yep.
So, all right. So then the argument is that Trump had no knowledge of this meeting at all to keep him safe.
Now, there is, if you look at the dates of the emails and the dates of when this meeting took place, right after that, Trump went on TV, and that's when he said the famous quote, "Russia, if you're listening, we hope you can find your way to finding the 20,000 missing emails and release them." So that sounds like he definitely heard about it after it happened.
Yeah.
Because they said that they had 20,000, or they had all of Hillary's emails, and then he went on TV and committed fucking treason by directly asking a foreign power to help
interfere in the election.
Sway, yeah. Which his supporters always have this thing they do where they come out and say what he meant was, and in this case, what he meant was, he was just telling a joke. He was joking. But if you look at the sequence of events, Trump Tower to the TV to the meeting, to the emails, to him doing it looks like he was in on it the entire time.
But there's still no proof that he was in any way involved with the meeting, right?
There is one anonymous phone call that came in right before it happened, which looks like it's very likely him that called in ahead of time to make sure that the meeting was being set up right. But so far, we don't have any hard and fast proof that he is that anonymous caller.
But that still convicts his son of colluding with a foreign government to affect the election, which I assume is treason. So either way, Don,
it's conspiracy against the United States. Treason is so hard to get someone on.
Even that guy back during 2001 or 2002 during the beginning of the Afghan War, the American Taliban guy who took up arms, who was an American kid, went to Afghanistan and was captured taking up arms against the United States Army. They still couldn't get him for treason. I remember that very specifically because I was on a high school debate team, and one of the subjects I had to research was, should he or should he not be tried for treason? And by all definitions of how you can try somebody for treason, he was 100%. They could have convicted him for treason, but they chose not to pursue it, I guess, because it's just real hard to make it stick, even though he was captured with a gun in Afghanistan with the Taliban going, "Death to America."
Yep.
So if they decided to not try him on treason, it's going to be hard to probably get Don Jr. on treason charges.
But he'll still very likely be going to prison for the rest of his life. We hope with his father, but we've never arrested an American president before, right?
I still don't think we will. I honestly
I really do think now, even though it sucks that he might just get away with it all and get to go free, the fact of the matter is that everyone around him is starting to go down now. There really is a deep swamp that is being drained here, which, now keep in mind that draining a swamp in a natural wetland is actually horrible for the environment, but given who he put in charge of the EPA, draining the swamp sounds about
Well, here's
right.
the thing, is like I said, remember, he's in bed with some really nasty people if he is indeed laundering money for the Russian mob.
So if we don't lock him up in a prison, the Russians might have him killed?
Prison might be the safest place for him, I mean, everyone else who had anything to do with any of this stuff in Russia has mysteriously taken a swan dive off a balcony or eaten nerve gas or, you know what I mean?
Or tripped and fell on a bullet.
Yeah, tripped and fell on a bullet down an elevator shaft and then, gotten up and slipped and fell on an axe until their own head was, Yeah, so it's like he's gonna get it from all sides. He's got, but the thing is, and here's the showdown that's about to happen. So they're arguing that an American president cannot be subpoenaed, and the problem with that is they're
Yep.
arguing that an elected official is above the law. I don't think so. I don't think that you are unable to be subpoenaed just because you're president. You're not a king.
Hey, and so he can be subpoenaed. It's never happened before,
Yeah.
but it definitely can happen.
Well,
Now, he can
they're trying to
choose
use
plead the fifth, but-
executive privilege to save him. That's their whole. Well, the president gets special leeway that other people. He even complained the other day that I can't get my job as president done because the Mueller investigation is impeding my ability to be president. Okay, then step aside and let Pence govern while you sort this out.
Yeah, that's an option.
Yeah, that's why you have a vice president. Allow the vice president to run the country, fully comply with the investigation, close the books, bing, bam, boom, come back and be president again. You have that option.
So can he just ignore the subpoena? That's actually what he's doing right now, but he can't ignore it forever. And hold on, I linked myself to an article that, let's see, a legal showdown is brewing between President Trump and the man leading the probe into the Russian election interference. Special counsel Robert Mueller has signaled he wants to talk to the president. He actually started floating the idea of subpoenaing him a few months ago whenever he first released all the questions.
Oh, yeah, so he released all the questions he wants to answer the president to the New York Times.
There's actually a whole thing about that. Trump, it looks like now that Trump is the one that leaked the questions in order to try and invalidate Mueller's investigation. Here's why: because there's a shitload of spelling errors in it, and Mueller's team is fucking airtight. There's no chance in hell that he would have any errors in it whatsoever.
Well, I mean, that's like the other thing that came out recently that I was talking about is Trump lied about his fitness report. Remember the one that like we all said he wrote, and everyone's like, no, it was the doctor. The doctor just came out and said, yeah, I didn't write that shit. Trump dictated it. And that's why it says a bunch of shit that no medical report ever says, like, definitely the most stamina. I have the stamina of a bull who is also 5 other bulls. Probably the strongest president to ever live. Definitely, doctor says I would be the strongest Avenger.
Definitely stronger than Obama, okay? And my penis is twice as long.
Sometimes
it's a beautiful big black penis, just like Obama's.
Sometimes they call me Trump Ragnarok because I'm going to bring about the end. Wait, hold on. No, that doesn't make. You know what? That is. Am I still dictating this in the doctor's note? Oh shit.
So I wrote that down in no shit news. Is that he dictated his 2015 letter?
Yeah.
The healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency. By the way, Dr. Harold Bornstein, he's the doctor that I said the other day looked like a hobo stole a corpse's suit and became a doctor.
I love the way you describe him. Just like fucking old Junk Pan Joe found a dead doctor and took over his practice.
Yeah. Oh god, we have like 12 minutes till the hour mark. So
yeah. All right.
Oh my god, we're gonna have to like double time this. So
that's fine.
His doctor of 35 years was not only fired but illegally raided. This is yet another crime that Trump has committed. It violates the HIPAA Act by having just a bunch of hired goons break into a doctor's office and rummage through all of his records for 35 minutes and just steal everything related to Trump.
Right, but
he could have just asked for all of his files.
Yeah, right. He could because they're his files, so he can just order them. Like, I can go to the doctor right now and go, give me all the files you have on me, and they have to.
Right.
And I'm not president.
But he didn't do that. The reason he did this is because his doctor, the corpse guy, said that Trump uses stuff to grow his hair.
Call him Junk Pan Joe. He's Junk Pan Joe.
Junk Banjo.
Well, here's how you know Trump's a really old man, and we forget that he was like our oldest elected president. Here's how you know he's really old. Because like in the 60s, you know what I mean? Like in the 70s, you would break in someone's office and steal their files, right? And you would have their files. Right. You know what happens if I break into an office and steal all the files in 2018?
It's probably on the computer and in the cloud.
Yeah, they just go on the they probably just go on the cloud or to their flash drive and go, yeah, I still have them, jackass.
Yeah. Like you can't even like steal their computers anymore and have the files because it's all backed up in the cloud.
Yeah, so the
information's just floating in the air. Go have your hired goons steal that.
Yeah, so you're doing some kind of fucking like 60s fucking like we get the files off all of the internet and you scrubbed all the because I'm sure it's he's a medical guy. I'm sure he backs up all his files on the internet.
So all their doctors are leaving. The other doctor, the other White House doctor that said that he was tall and not fat, he is.
Sorry, medical diagnosis. They said I'm tall and not fat. Okay.
That was his diagnosis, right? Well, but
Yeah.
that guy is also embroiled in scandals now, and that's why he couldn't become the guy in charge of the VA.
Yeah.
So, but not only is he not getting that job, but he's losing his other job too because it wasn't just a witch hunt. He really is chock full of scandals, and Mike Pence knew he was and tried to warn Trump that he was 8 times, and Trump just ignored it every time.
It's pretty bad
and
when
now
fucking.
this shit
It's pretty
happened.
bad when the guy. My favorite Pence meme was like, "Why does Pence always look like the guy who's about to outlaw the X-Men?" So it's pretty bad when that guy's like, "Hey, I got to warn you, this guy's kind of a piece of shit," and you're just like, "No, he's fine. He's my favorite hobo doctor that stole. My real doctor died, but this guy found his body and just has been my doctor ever since. I don't know if he knows what he's doing, but I like him."
Okay, so also this week, Mueller's 49 questions to President Trump, proving that collusion is still very much on the table, came out, and the first thing he did was tweet, "See, these questions prove that there's no collusion, it's all a witch hunt. Not one question is about collusion," and his followers believe it because the word collusion, like,
Yeah.
no one question was, did you collude, right?
Well, why would you ask that? Because you're trying to with court, you're trying to prove intent, right? That's what with campaign finance. If you can prove the intent was to influence the campaign, then it's illegal. With collusion, if there was intent or conspiracy, which is all about intent, then it's illegal. So that's why the questions are very intent oriented.
Here's the very first question. Keep in mind the first national security advisor, Michael Flynn. He was fired whenever. Trump hired him. He was on for a while, and then he was fired because he was colluding with the Russians. So we know and I think Flynn's already pled guilty anyway, right?
I think Flynn was just like, they were like, "Hey, Flynn, what was that chant you used to say?" And he's like, "Lock her up." Yeah, fuck you, Flynn.
So the very first question is, what did you know about phone calls that Mr. Flynn made with the Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak in late December 2016? Very first question is about collusion.
Yeah. Well,
Trump is too stupid to know that that's what the question's about.
Well, that's why they're asking him like that. So I want to be
because he's gonna perjury the shit out of himself because he's too stupid to answer.
So that's the other thing they call it. They go, it's a legal trap. It's just a setup and trap. Yeah, that's what the law does. They want you.
Trump doesn't believe it's a trap. Everyone around him's trying to tell him that.
He's surrounded
but
by.
it's not a trap because it's just fucking regular proceedings. And none of these questions are above.
It's like if the police
should have.
It's like if the police arrest you for murder and they're like, "Hey, did you murder that guy?" So the trap is if I go, "Yeah, I did." Then they're like, "Gotcha." And I'm like, "That was a trap." No, you broke the law, you piece of crap. I've been sitting on this and I just want to say it. If you got collusion problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 49 questions, but collusion ain't one.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, sometimes I sit on jokes.
So, let's see, who is it? Jay Sekulow is the one believed to have he's... Okay, let me start over. Jay Sekulow received the phone call from Mueller about 2 months ago, and Mueller went through everything that he'd like to talk to Trump about. Based on that phone conversation, he compiled this list of 49 questions to sort of give Trump, a rundown of what all he'll be asked. In these 49 questions, 5 are about Flynn, 21 about Comey, 9 about Sessions, and 14 is about coordination with Russia.
Now,
as soon as these questions were put together, John Dodd quit after he had.
I'm sorry. I just love John Dodd's like, "Oh, fuck this. I'm out."
Yeah, that was
Peace.
Everybody. This is something that I think the Daily Show started to put a compilation together.
Yeah,
on.
these are real good questions. I'm out.
These are all of Trump's lawyers before and on TV, before and after they've spoken with Mueller. And immediately, before Mueller will be like super confident and cocky and whatever, and right after they just look like they've seen a ghost, like, and that's whenever they're the most ranty and rambly on TV.
Yeah,
because they realize this shit's for real.
Yeah, because I feel
Mueller's
because Mueller fought in Nam, so I feel like Mueller's coming out of them with the fury of fighting the Viet Cong in the jungles, where they're just like, I went in a room with him and he just kind of did the thing from Apocalypse Now and it scared the shit out of me.
Yep.
Like he was all in shadow and he just kept going, "The horror." Then he told me I was just a errand boy sent by a grocery clerk to collect a bill, and then he killed a bull with a machete. It was fucking scary, man.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like,
So
you can make all the jokes you want and like argue that like the investigation, but like this shit is for real. And the only thing that scares me about the political machine is if like he ignores the subpoena, um, and claims executive privilege with enough congressional support to undermine the Justice Department.
mm,
That's what worries me. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't have full congressional
yeah.
support, but he does have enough so that like, you know what, like he could like with enough
Until
support.
after the 2018 midterms.
Yeah, so up to that point, this is where after the midterms, if the things change, then I will feel a lot safer in that like he won't have a strong power base in Congress. But up until that
Right.
point, I'm worried about the extreme danger of like, what if he just dissolves the Justice Department?
Yeah. Like that's possible. That's not beyond the pale. He can
Yeah,
do that. Or that's not. I mean, that would be beyond the pale. That's not beyond reason that he
yeah.
would have the ability to do
It's
that.
not
That's what I
beyond
meant.
possibility if he just decided to gut the Justice Department and not enough people in Congress, because there's people in Congress against him, but like there's not enough to come out, I think, and split from like the other part of the party that's like diehard supporting him.
Right. Because like right now, McConnell's position is we can't put legislation in place to protect Mueller because there's no way Trump would fire him. And if he gets fired, his next position would be like, well, it's probably for the best anyway. Let's move on.
Yeah. And
And
so that's like, but the thing is, if he fires Sessions, does he walk into another obstruction of justice snare?
yes, but I mean, if he just keeps firing people till there's no one left to trial him, eventually he'll just be able to run around and destroy people's lives for all 4 years unimpeded.
So it'll basically be
And
like they'll be like, all right, well, you fired Rosenstein. We're gonna put this new guy.
because
We're gonna put this new guy in place. Fired. All right, well, we're gonna put this guy in place. Fired. All right, we're gonna put this guy in place. Fired. Fired times infinity. Go ahead,
but,
try me.
I mean, he's also hurting a lot of people in America,
Yeah.
and I'll get to that in a little bit. But it's like think about how long it takes you to build a sandcastle versus someone just run along
Exactly.
and kick it down.
So if he just yells
It's
fired,
taking, and the amount of destruction he can cause in 4 years will take us, generations upon generations to fix.
well, I'm
We're not going to
operating.
fix it one to one.
You know, I was
We're not
listen-
going to fix it in 4 years.
I was listening to a thing the other day, and I'm already operating under the assumption that we're done as a superpower, and we're even once we get rid of him, I think that maybe the damage is insurmountable. The thing I was listening
Yeah.
to, they were talking
He's
about.
definitely going to position China in such a way that they can absolutely crush us. Because for instance, he's calling all troops out of South Korea, which is like China's number one foreign policy goals, right? And they just met it.
Yeah.
So now that's furthering their ability to become the leading superpower in the world. They're not
Right.
there yet, but give it like 15 years and they will be an
Well,
insurmountable number one.
And that's that. So that's the whole thing. Is like while we're doing this, I was listening to NPR, and the guy brought up a good point. And it's not that the tariffs against China are a bad idea. It's that we're living in a 24-hour news cycle, and that's about as far as our policy goes. You know, he talks about in China they have like a 10-year, a 5-year, 10-year, a 20-year, 50-year, like a 100-year economic plan. All of the stuff that they're doing is part of a very slow economic plan to get where they want to go. Okay, so their
right.
cities are some of the most
That-
polluted in the world right now, right? But they've made a
Right.
commitment to green energy and artificial intelligence such that they know it's the future, and if it takes them 100 years to reach it, they will come out on the other end number one because they are investing in it now. We are
And even
going
if they-
backwards.
Even if they're not personally using the green energy even now, if they're producing it, then they're selling it to people, and they will rule the market on it the same way they rule the market on cell phones and
Yep.
making Trump ties.
And the other
everything
thing that they
else.
had, even if we were really like, if we understood that and we were fighting to keep up with them, they have an advantage that we don't, and I'm glad that we don't, but it's still a disadvantage on our part in that China can throw unlimited amounts of human suffering at a project and get it done.
Yeah.
We kind of don't. That's why their factories have suicide nets under the windows. Ours don't. But you can get a lot done that way that you can't get done the other way. Like there was a story about the new iPhone was coming out. Something was wrong with the screen the day before. They forced all their workers to stay and fix like thousands of iPhone screens, like replace them, right?
Shit.
So
yeah.
that they didn't have to delay the release of the new iPhone. You can't do that in America. They gave them a glass of tea and they were like, "Go back to work." And they're like, "All right." That's hard to beat. You gotta really. So not only is that hard to beat, but we're just like we've effectively been paralyzed and decapitated, and it looks like for the next 4 to 8 years, we will be kind of less and less on the world stage and may never be able to catch up.
Yeah. Let me run through two other quick because we're at the 1 hour mark.
All right.
So let's see. Trump kills a lot of people. Here we go. Trump moves to remove the Obama rule that the U.S. has to publicly admit how many civilians we've killed in military action. Most transparent administration ever, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Who is the warmonger again?
Of course he does. Of course, yeah.
And Trump hurts even more people. He is going to try and deport 50,000 Hondurans who've been living in the United States since 1999, ever since Hurricane Mitch slammed their country and killed 10,000. They now have 20 months to leave or they'll face deportation because Trump is a fucking monster.
Yep.
This is why Mueller needs to hurry up and get rid of this guy.
Well, the problem is, though, he can't hurry, because if he hurries, he makes a misstep.
All of
history
is going to be looking at what Mueller did forever, and we can never let this case get relitigated after it's done. Mueller has to. That's the reason why we know those 49 questions came from Trump's camp and not Mueller's, because there were spelling errors, and Mueller is making sure this shit is airtight.
Yeah.
So while he's doing everything by the books and perfectly, Trump is just like floundering and losing doctors and lawyers and everything.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's tough, but like I don't know, and like maybe it's because I changed diets. I'm not as angry. I've gone through that weird like the 5 stages of grief with this president, and I think now I'm on acceptance of America becoming a second or third rate power again. You know.
Yeah.
Like I'm we used to be. We were at one point. Maybe we'll be again. I mean, I mean, the only thing that I like about America being the number one power over China, again, is that China seems to have no cap on human suffering, and America has a little bit of a cap. So I would much rather work in an American factory than a Chinese factory. But what can you do?
Yeah. Nothing you can do about it, folks. Nothing you can do.
I mean, maybe the Second Amendment people can go to China and do something about it, but, you know.
Yep. So another fun fact. Tired of removing things such as climate change or equal rights from the White House White House page website, they just replaced the section about the freedom of press with the section about how it's illegal to leak classified information.
Yeah, we're living in a dumb fucking George Orwell novel.
Yeah.
It's like it should just be called 1980 Stupid. Like that's such an evil supervillain thing to do, you know?
It is. And Marco Rubio admits that there's no evidence whatsoever that the money from the tax scam has been returning to the American worker at all. It's just helping corporations.
I heard an interview with a Republican congressman that they were talking about that, and they said, well, Rubio, they were talking to this guy, and they go, well, Rubio has stated that there's no evidence this is helping, and the guy goes, you know what? I reject that question on its basic premise. And I was like, you don't get to reject a question you don't like. Answer it, you public servant. Serve me or quit.
Yep. Speaking of Trump's lawyers leaving, the man who pilots the bubblegum rainbow submarine of Candied Dreams left. I'm actually going to miss this guy, Ty Cobb's.
Which guy was Ty Cobb again?
The guy with the crazy mustache.
Was he the lawyer?
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was the one that was like, hoo-hoo, the Lollipop Guild and Trump did not collude.
Yes, he will be missed but never forgotten, so long as magic never leaves the fantasies of children everywhere, the daydreams of children across the land. I was hoping to get to see him and his mustache in court someday representing the deplorable in chief. It would have been amazingly hard to take serious.
Trump did not collude. I feel like we've reached the point of saturation where we're just like, we've gone insane. We're like, oh, that guy was a funny looking dude.
At least we get to look forward to Rudy Giuliani standing in front of a jury screaming, America! At him like he did at the RNC.
I feel like eventually the skin suit's going to wear out and the alien that is pulling the strings inside Giuliani is going to have to reveal itself.
It's George Soros, I'm telling you. He lives inside of Rudy Giuliani.
Oh my God! Did I tell you my George Soros story? I got in an argument with a guy who linked me to some crazy George Soros conspiracy site. Oh, we talked about this last time, right? Where they're like, George Soros was a Nazi, but also he's a Jew. Yeah. So these I'm like, man, your conspiracies don't even make sense. So you're calling him part of the Jewish cabal, but he was also a Nazi? Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
If listeners want to hear our takes, check out
Yeah.
the last episode.
I
If you use
gotta,
the clicks.
I gotta add in something. So last time I was talking about I've been going after people online, and I called this guy a Nazi. Well, after the podcast, he actually sent me a message, and we kind of talked a little bit more like eye to eye, and it was great that we had a reasonable conversation. And my advice to him was like, don't trust people that tell you everything you want to hear, even if you like them. That's what I'm trying to say, man. Like, don't go along with these people.
I do hate that because it does sound a little bit like you're saying, oh, many sides.
No. I'm not saying many sides. I'm just glad that he reached out and we talked, that we connected on a human level. I'm not validating his viewpoint. Also, he wasn't the one that sent me the Soros stuff. That was another guy. I was arguing with I was fencing with like 3 crazy people on a Facebook post all at once. I'm like the Earl Flynn of calling people Nazis.
So the lifelong real estate mogul who promised you the sun and the moon's not gonna get Mexico to pay for your racist wall? Huh.
Yeah.
Go figure. And some people still believe he's not only building the wall, but that it's well under construction, or well underway to being constructed. Okay. Final thing that we haven't touched on yet is Michelle Wolf.
Oh my God! Did we not talk about the correspondence dinner?
We haven't. That's
So Michelle Wolf at the Correspondents' Dinner just laid down some savage jokes and Trump was too cowardly to show up, so she went after like Sanders and just really, really roasted him. And then of course the right was just like, this is abominable. How dare she attack?
She's attacking Sarah Huckabee Sanders, or Hucka Sanders as I like to call her.
Yeah.
She's the lead press person for Trump. She goes out and talks to the reporters.
So it's like my stance, just like it was on Spicy. Is like, look, their job is to lie. I'm not mad at them for doing their job, but at the same time, I think that if you take the job where you basically have to go out and lie and tell the president's agenda, whether it's true or not, if someone goes on a roast and just makes fun of you, you chose that job. You take the heat that comes with it.
Yeah, and it's like Sarah Huckabee has resting "I'm gonna murder you" face, so it's really hard to tell how she took the jokes. She didn't laugh at him, of course, but mostly it was just deplorables getting really mad that two things. One is they're getting mad and making stuff up to get other people riled up, saying that Michelle Wolf called her a fat lesbian or stuff like that. I saw that. More than one person said, well, she shouldn't have called her that. It's like, well, she didn't.
Yeah.
If you listen to it, she actually compliments the eyeshadow. That was not an insult. It really was a compliment. But she called her a liar a lot. The exact quote with the eyeshadow stuff, I've got to go from memory with this, is she burns
the smoky eye look from burning facts.
Right, she burns facts and uses their ashes to get a perfect smoky eye look.
Yeah.
And maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's lies.
But everyone knows that in this climate, somebody wrote an article. They said they knew that before this, the Correspondents' Dinner was either going to be disgustingly sycophantic or savagely mean. And people that's always the Correspondents' Dinner. It's like that's just what it is.
I just wanted to go through all the hypocrisy of this, though, that they hold a comedian to a much higher standard than the president.
Our president
is
these called
are the same
women
people.
A fat
pigs.
She had blood coming out of her wherever,
right. She had blood coming out of her eyes.
I moved on her like
crazy Mika bleeding from her face after plastic surgery.
I moved on her like a bitch. You can grab him by the pussy, So
he said that all the women that accused him of sexual assault, he's like, they were way too ugly for me to assault them. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, so you're mad because a comedian made some fucking savage jokes, and it's like
they weren't even that savage. Like she went after the press, like the liberal press,
that
way
was
harder than.
That was
Hucka
my
Sanders.
favorite thing that she said. She said, the press, you people, you thought he was a joke, but you made him and you make money off him. And that's exactly like Kanye with his thing. It's like they're reporting on it. They made Trump and they're making money off of it. Like they're part of the problem. Like they're not just going out and reporting facts. They're like, oh, he did something controversial. Who was it? Was it CNN that gave him thousands of dollars of free advertising in the primaries?
I don't know if it was CNN specifically, but I remember, I think it was all of the press cumulatively gave him $2 billion worth of free press in the primaries, and that's part of how he is able to come out above the 16 other candidates.
It's basically, Trump and his administration are a problem. But the other half of this equation that people don't talk about, and I think that it's the entirety of the media have failed us by becoming the sensationalist, if it bleeds, it leads, yellow journalism that they are. And like,
but they also while they're doing this, they also try to not say anything positive about the other side if all they're doing is talking down to Trump. They're like, well, we can't say anything positive about Hillary, so let's just not say anything about her ever unless it's a scandal, and then we'll focus on that so we can give them both airtime.
It's turned into this warped, like, and I've said it before about the right, but I say it about the media.
But all the scandals with Hillary during the campaign were all fake, whereas all of Trump's stuff was all real. Like with Hillary, it was, oh, she's dying, she wears a catheter she carries around with her.
The problem is that, like, they seem to have no morals. They seem to have no ideology. They seem to have no, like, I've said the word moral fiber more than ever have in my life, but they seem to have no higher standard for humanity. They, I believe it was Malcolm X that said the media is the most powerful entity in the world, in that they can make a guilty man innocent and they can make an innocent man look guilty. They can do that. They control public perception. And they've taken this power lightly, and they have helped put us in this place. And they are responsible, and they have not taken their responsibility seriously.
Right, so
man, when did this go from a comedy podcast to, like, me just being, like, Mickey, what's his name? The old guy on 60 Minutes that just does those,
Mickey Rourke?
Mickey Rooney, right?
Mickey Rooney.
Andy Rooney, right? Andy Rooney, Mickey Rooney, which one?
I know there's an Andy Rooney.
One's the actor. Anyway, yeah, the old guy that's like, you know what I don't like? I don't think a chocolate chip cookie has any moral fiber anymore, you know? It used to be cookie companies were accountable to the public and they stood for something. I feel like that's what I've turned into.
I mean, we are those shouty radio people.
We are those shouty radio people. But yeah, I think the media, there needs to be a media revolution. You know, I think there needs to be a decentralization of media. That's part of the problem. Yeah, most of our stations are owned by like 4 companies or like 3 people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a handful. Oh, speaking of a few people, it does look like it was just the Mercers behind the whole Cambridge Analytica thing. So that whole business was always just a front for billionaires that wanted to get Trump elected.
If you don't know who the Mercers are, maybe we'll talk about them next time, but they're basically these psycho right-wing billionaires that like to control what you think and how you vote.
Yep. And, I mean, the Koch brothers are about as bad, but the Koch brothers were actually not Trump fans.
Yeah.
But they're sort of rolling with it now as best they can while still hating him.
Right.
And also, there's hope there because I'm pretty sure all the Koch's children are very left-wing, so we might see left-wing propaganda coming from their billions after the Koch brothers die.
Well, personally, I would like no propaganda, and I would just like somebody to try to become beholden to the truth.
Well, in absence of any propaganda, someone's going to do propaganda. So I say let's just go ahead and make sure the people that are correct.
I think what's going to happen is I'm going to disappear into the woods on a Muckrakers spiritual journey, and I'm going to come back and to be like, these are the testaments handed down to me by the God of the wilderness. This is what the media should do.
We tried that before, and we only came back with black fly bites.
Well, you came back with black fly blights. I came back a little bit later with adventure stories.
I like how you called it blights. That was what it was, though.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, I think that's about it for our show this week. Right?
Yep, that's
everything.
I
didn't know if you were like...
The document is done.
I didn't know if you... I didn't know if you were like, I got 30 more things I want to cover real quick. Like... Yeah.
No, we're good. We covered a lot. Everything else is just like rants that I don't actually want to give any airtime. It's just you know, put all these things together and then I start venting. Goes it's like Trump killed how many people? God damn it!
Yeah, we should put up a big ticker about how many people has died because of his policies, and it just goes up like the deficit every time he kills more people.
Yeah. Mostly from Puerto Rico, but I mean he's working on it with continuous wars. And never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's been it for this episode of the Muckrakers. The Muckrakers. Yes, the Muckrakers. We make a mockery out of muckery. I'm Peter,
and I'm Pat.
You know, I got nothing. I was gonna make a joke about collusion, but I'm just, it's like 100 degrees in this closet.
That's the way the cookie fiber crumbles.
Because that cookie doesn't have any moral fiber.